I'm actually going to cold. I'll start taking auction bids for this. I'm not going to do it right now, but I will in a minute. We've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to, it's hard for me to stay within 10 minutes for anything, I promise you, but I'm going to do my very best. My lovely wife is going to count them down and say, you all will. She tells me, you all will. Thank you. She tells me that I have more words than the average woman.
He does.
The average woman. Okay? So I could really talk the varnish off a chair, and I really don't want to do that tonight. I want to tell you, after the song and after the memorial, so many of these guys and gals, just, you know, it's a heavy burden on the heart. Almost 27 years ago in January, this coming January, Christy died. I was introduced by a mutual friend who knew both Christy and Vanessa. And we were introduced kind of surreptitiously and sneakily. And we're celebrating 25 years together in March. So it's kind of interesting how those things happen. In the process of that 27 years, that 27 years ago marked a line in my life where I began to learn some things that I thought I knew. It's interesting how you think you know what you know until you don't know what you think you know. Okay? And on that day, the day that Christy died, I realized that everything that I ever thought that I knew about loss and grief was gone. It was out the window. And I started as if I were an infant, working to make sense of something that was tragic. Without a great deal of explanation, I would like to share with you some brief little snippets of wisdom that I've learned about this.
Time's almost up.
I've learned that loss is a universal experience. That everybody everywhere loses. Doesn't matter who you are. And when we lose, the second universal is that grief is a universal experience. Process. It's a universal process. Everybody who loses grieves. Mourning is a universal responsibility. And that's something we don't do a very good job of doing. We don't mourn well because we're not taught to. We don't mourn well because we're not encouraged to. Our schools, our families, our churches don't encourage us to mourn our losses. So many times I've heard in churches, why should we be sad and mourn because they're in a better place? And I've sat with individuals who have lost loved ones, and they have said to me, whenever I hear that, I want to choke them because the best place is right here with me.
Amen.
With me. I miss them. So for about 27 years almost, I've worked with people, held their hands, walked through the difficulties of dealing with the death of a loved one. Whether it's from cancer, whether it's from a heart attack, whether it's from a suicide, I've worked with families and individuals working to deal with this tragedy. I wish I was teaching something one day and it just hit me, and I'm gonna have you imagine with me. And it hit me that, and I wrote it, big letters, life, all caps, is bigger than loss. And it was all in small letters. And that's the way it is for all of us. Life is bigger than loss. We go home and we sit in front of the television and we watch the news and we look at tragedies all across the world, and we're eating and we're saying, isn't that awful? Would you pass the beans, please? All in the same breath. So life is bigger than loss until it's not. When something happens to us and suddenly loss, all caps, is bigger than life. It's all we can think, feel, taste, touch, smell. It dominates everything that we are, everything that we have, everything that we touch. And what's interesting about our society is that our society and our churches often want us to go back after a very prescribed and sometimes proscribed period of time and pretend that life is bigger than loss. if you're lucky, you get 3 days, 4, maybe 5 off of work, and then you are expected to go back and be on time, on target, and ready to go. Okay? So lots of times our families and our institutions want us to go back to pretend that life is bigger than loss, but then there's other parts of our society that want us to be defined by our loss. They want us to remain in that place where loss is bigger than life, that we can somehow be that carrier away of the loss and the pain. That somehow by that definition of who we are and what we've experienced, we can take that loss and then no one else has to feel it. But what I discovered is that in the process of dealing with life, our task is to reconcile ourselves to that loss or those losses. And I'm not just talking about death losses, I'm talking about the everyday losses that come to us all the time. Our job is not to resolve them, to close a chapter and walk away. It's to reconcile. A whole lot. Now, you guys in this room, lots of times I'll speak to younger people, and they have no idea what a bank statement and a checkbook register is. They don't have a clue. Okay? But you guys know. And you get used to get the register, and you say, the statement, you say, they're lying. I have more money than that. I'm going to show them. So I get my checkbook register, and I start going through this process, and I realize, oh, no, they're right. So the process of reconciliation of life losses is taking what I thought I had in life into a process of working on my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my relationships. I come to terms with what I do have in life, and I carry that balance forward with me, carrying all of the lessons that I've learned about living and loving in life.
I'd say 3.
What did I leave out? God had something in store long before McDonald's had the Egg McMuffin. I call it the Good Morning Sandwich. And it's from the Beatitudes. And one slice of bread is comfort, or as Dr. Ellis taught us in Greek, the comfort, blessings and happiness are the same word, right? It can be the same thing. So blessed or happy are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And what's interesting is, if I have 2 slices of bread and one of those is happiness and blessing, and the other one is comfort, and I don't do any mourning, I have a mustard sandwich. Without the mourning, there is no real sandwich. Without the mourning, there is no real comfort or peace. There is no real change. We are told to grieve as those who have hope. It doesn't say stop grieving, don't grieve, don't mourn. It says grieve as if you have hope. Okay? Mourning is the way we make meaning. There's no magical meaning in every event that happens in life. It's when we connect with that whole process of dealing with the difficulties that we have, that we make meaning. Grief is reactionary. It's that whole constellation of mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and relational issues that occur to us and happen to us when we lose someone or something of value. Mourning is what we do with what we feel and experience. It's grief gone public. It's the externalizing process of making meaning by laughing and crying and reading, going to therapy, singing, working in the dirt, exercising. It's all of that that helps us heal. Long time ago, about 23 years ago, I had an idea, and I pitched it to everybody who said, hey, how do we do this? And Vanessa came up with the idea on how to do it. So we worked on it together. How many of you have seen a caterpillar? Okay. Maybe even in the summer when they're going across a hot sidewalk. Have you seen that? How fast do caterpillars travel? Not very, do they? Yeah, slow, absolutely. But that caterpillar knows instinctively that it's got to connect somewhere to something so that it can hold on and make some change, doesn't it? When we lose, we're like that caterpillar, doing the very best we can, running as hard and as fast as we can to get to some sort of an appropriate support system so that we can make some sense and start some change. And it looks a little something like this. And I'm going to have to ask Vanessa to help me get into my chrysalis. Now, you know, caterpillars really do this better than I do. Instinctively, they know that there's something going on. I have to crawl and put mine on here. But it's a chrysalis. And I had a professor friend from the University of North Texas who knew that I liked this and knew that I worked. It's all twisted. Okay. She knew that I liked to work with butterflies, and I did this presentation. And so she sent me a picture. She sent me a picture one day. Isn't this funny? Does this goofy or what? Nice now. She sent me a picture one day of her caterpillar, of her butterfly garden. And there was a caterpillar that had crawled up on the little branch that it was about to attach to and begin to make its change, its chrysalis. And before it actually attached and started to build the chrysalis, its little neck, if you have, I don't know if they have neck and shoulders, but I guess that's, caterpillars do. It kind of bowed out and it formed a question mark, as if I'm not really sure what's next or what's going to happen, but I know I have to do this. Okay? So when we lose and we do the best we can to attach to the support system that will help us and hold us and support us, we can create a chrysalis. And that's where the change begins to take place. It's in private. Nobody really sees it. We always wonder what's going on. Sometimes we have little glimpses of movement and change, but we don't really know. What would happen, do you think, if the little butterfly to bee decided that inside this chrysalis, hey, this feels pretty good. I think I'm going to just kind of hang out here and stay for a little while. Maybe a little bit longer than I need to. What do you think would happen? It die, because all of its stuff is gone. Well, what do you think would happen if that little caterpillar, butterfly to bee creature that is all mushy inside decides to come out too soon? What do you think would happen? It would die. In fact, there were some scientists who wanted to see what would happen. And they had a whole bunch of chrysali on a little, I guess, a branch, for lack of a better word. And when they began that process of emerging from the chrysalis, they took razor blades and sliced the outer casing of the chrysalis. And instead of a sleek butterfly popping out, they had this little bloated body with crumpled wings and spindly legs, and it fell out on the table, and it flipped and it flopped and it died. And what they discovered, that it was only in the process of emerging out of that chrysalis that the fluid was pushed from the body to the wings, so that when they emerged, they could dry the wings and then fly. And I thought to myself, what a beautiful picture of what has to happen every single time we lose someone or something about it. We have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and move toward the support that we know will be there. And not all the time is it there. We have to be careful about with whom we connect for support. But once we do that, once we change, once we stay there, and once we struggle to emerge out of that time of transition, this is what can happen. Are they coming? All right. Get these wings up. I bet you, when you came tonight, you did not expect to see a 5'8" bald-headed butterfly.
I did.
Barry did. If you remember nothing that I've said, remember this picture. This is the path to healing. This is the path to health. And this is the path to provide comfort to those that you meet along the way.
Mark. Good. Keep smiling, you're still on.
I'm going to have to reconnect that wing.
I think we have a